welcome to Infinite Prattle, Season 6, Episode 3. Today, I'm going to kick off with what I left the last episode with, was talking about Xennials. Because apparently I'm one. Yeah, let's talk about that.
Hello, and welcome to
Infinite Prattle!
Unscripted, unedited prattle on everything. Hosted by me, Stephen. Listen, like, share, and subscribe, and enjoy the show.
Hi, welcome back to episode 3. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to follow us on socials at Infinite Prattle. And you can watch this if you're listening on a podcast, audio only subscription service. Remember, you can listen and watch on YouTube. So you can see my face now. God help you. You might have noticed I've been wearing different hats every episode as well. So I hope you like them. Let me know in the comments if you like my hat apparel. Bit of a collector of hats. There'll be a lot of American football ones to go through from the Philadelphia Eagles. Go Birds. And also, I forgot last time, in the very first episode, I remembered in the second episode to turn all my lights on because my Lego figures in the background of the video podcast weren't turned on. So they have been turned on in the last couple of episodes. So if you can see them and you can zoom in, let me know which minifigure you like. Just engage with me. So, Xennials is a thing, apparently. And I've seen pictures on social media and videos on pictures, moving pictures, which are called videos. I've seen them on social media describing Xennials. And apparently, I say I am one, and we are a mixture of Gen X and millennials. I never knew I was a millennial, actually. I didn't think I was Gen X, but I didn't realise I thought there was another one in between. Apparently, now there is. And I was kind of disappointed when I found out I was a millennial. Because I think millennials were almost painted as the know-it-all generation. You know, the can-do, the highly educated. Whereas Gen X were kind of like, you know, the boomers, I think they were called, weren't they? The boomers, you know, had a good economy after the war and stuff like that. So, like, post-war, 60s, 70s, like, you know, but they were the boomer generation. Or are the boomers separate, actually? Are they separate? Is Gen X the one that follow the boomers? I can't remember. Anyway, Gen X are considered kind of wealthy because of how when they bought houses and stuff, the markets were low, but they had money because the economy was rising. Millennials are kind of like in between, I would say, in the sense that the economy dipped a little bit, so they kind of had like a good childhood, and as they were getting into adulthood, their dreams were dashed and taken away from them. That's how I would kind of look at it, and it sounds really, really kind of a downbeat way to look at it. But I think that's kind of, I was talking about in the other episode about, like, you know, the cost of living, etc. And I feel that, like, whereas probably like Gen X had their kind of booming kind of period where, you know, they get a job and their probably cost of living was quite low and they could get well-paid jobs because wages went up, etc. For a time, there was probably a misbalance in the fact that they could probably get on the property market, had a little bit more money, a bit more disposable income before that caught up a little bit. Whereas, I think my generation, we probably got a bit more of a lift up from our parents, who may have been in a better situation from their upbringing, but then that sort of caused us to stall in our adulthood because of the way things were brought in, and the way the stock market went, etc., and the big financial crashes. Let's say, well, let's not say, that's what it was. So I just think that it's a weird concept, but I kind of agree with it. Xennials, I think I would be proud enough to call myself a Xennial, that word, in the sense that it probably does describe my generation quite well. So we're kind of the ones that bridge the gap between Gen X and, is it Gen Z? Are they the next ones, or are they the current ones? It would be Gen Z, wouldn't it? Yeah, and I think that it does make sense because Gen X were like analog days, LPs, VCRs, Betamax, if you remember Betamax. I don't really remember Betamax, if I'm honest with you. It was kind of like the Blu-ray. For anyone that doesn't know, it's kind of like the Blu-ray HD movies. HDD? No, HD movies. So Betamax lost to VCR, basically lost to video cassette tapes, and HD DVDs lost to Blu-rays. And I think the first Xbox had the HD drive in, whereas the PlayStation had a Blu-ray drive, and kind of goes from there, really. I believe the reason that Blu-rays won, though, this might be one of them things that is one of them non-facts where it's not actually correct, but I believe that Blu-rays run because that's the one that pornography chose. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but apparently that was the format that pornography chose, and because they produced so many films, it boosted their kind of profile, and that's what people started choosing. I suppose only if you're into pornography on Blu-ray, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. I feel like it could be true, but it probably isn't. It's probably them, kind of cultural things that get stuck in people's brains, but it's like really not true at all. I can't think of the word. What's the word for it? When like a folktale kind of thing. But anyway, so we kind of bridge the gap between like millennials from Gen Z and from Gen X and millennials, true millennials. And I think that's so true because like obviously they were analog, we were analog in our early days. Then CDs were coming out. Technology was moving so quickly. The proper microchip age started to arise. Computers, home computers, and then going into like proper digital formats like MP3, Apple and the iPod and iPhone and true smartphones. I mean, when I was a kid, like watching Star Trek Next Generation, late 80s, early 90s, and looking at them with their pads and their tablets, and they were going, I was thinking, oh my god, it'd be so cool if you could have like this tablet computer. Like, how cool would that be? And I have one now. Like, it blows my mind. But yeah, I think that me as a millennial, or Xennial as they are, is a true thing, and I think that the status of millennials apparently were downtrodden, especially Xennials, were a downtrodden generation, and I can see that. Like from how I was brought up, being an adult became harder. The crash in the market. I say I've been quite lucky. I said in the previous episode, I'm quite lucky with my career. I've worked hard for my job and my career on the railway, but I'm reasonably well paid, and it's well, touch wood, as MDF does it count. It's a secure job, really. But there was that massive stock market crash, and I'd already bought a house, luckily. But that changed a lot of things in many ways in the early 2000s, of how millennials can get on in life. We were at that point in our lives where we were probably looking to like settle down, move out of our houses, mum and dad's houses, like parents, guardians' houses, and really move on. And that for some people, I think I did it just at the right time where, I'd bought a house in the downturn, and I actually made a bit of money on my house, and then it lost money again because of another downturn. But then eventually, when I did come to sell it a decade later, I actually did make money on it. Mainly because I paid a shitload of money towards the house, so obviously you gain equity when you're paying a mortgage off. But yeah, the whole transition from Gen X to millennial is me in my generation. God, I remember with a generation that remember analog and digital, and there's probably a span of like 5, 6, 7, or 8 years maybe that escalated quickly. Of probably this generation where we kind of remember that transition, and then another generation beyond us, like the late millennials, and getting into, is it whatever the next one is, Gen Z, I think it is. When all they've known is digital technology, they've never known having a physical device, a physical media, like putting a cassette into a cassette tape or putting a CD into a CD drive. I mean, people don't really even put DVDs or Blu-rays into drivers anymore, because everyone's got streaming services, and it kind of makes you think that we are a rare breed, and I kind of like that. I kind of like that my generation has seen both and are kind of competent in both as well. So we can educate the younger generation on the old school stuff and hopefully keep up with the new school stuff. I try and keep my hand in with technology. I try and learn about the new stuff coming out. But I do feel that the older I get, then it is waning a little bit. And I think that I feel that, like, when my mum and dad, when I was trying to tell mum and dad about things and technology, and they were like, yeah, whatever. I do feel that's in me a bit now. I like to kind of know what I know to do in things. Like, if I've worked something out, then brilliant. If it's out the area of my interest, I don't bother. Or if it's out the area of something I need to achieve, I don't bother looking into it. Whereas probably years ago, I would have still tried to how to go and learn it. So, for example, I've got programs on my computer for editing these videos, and I know how to do the basic stuff. And it does so much stuff. I've got Final Cut Pro, so if anyone knows what that is, it's quite a professional software tool. And yeah, I do feel that I'm not using probably 95% of what's in there. I throw the videos in there, jiggle it around, put a title, some transitions, bang, go out. Let's do it. But I can do it. Whereas my dad wouldn't even be interested whatsoever. He wouldn't really know how to do that. We were the first generation to actually probably have IT lessons, and it was basic IT. Like I remember the IT lessons I used to get in school, and it was literally like how to turn on a computer, like how to turn off the computer, how to write a basic letter, how to input stuff into Excel, how to do stuff like that. Really, really, really basic stuff that, you think to yourself, like, looking back, you think, God, that's quite basic. But it was all new to us. It was all new. Like, home computers weren't a thing. Like, the gaming consoles we had at the time were like, well, when I was growing up, it was the Master System, the Nintendo Entertainment System, things like Ataris and stuff like that. So when you think about that, and then you suddenly have a computer in your life that can do all these other things, it's a massive game changer, especially for my parents. And like, when you're young, you can adapt to stuff really, really quickly. And I think that digital age for me probably happened in my early teens. My brother's a bit older than me, so he was a little bit older when this kicked off. But I remember my dad getting the first CD player and looking at these CDs and being amazed, like, genuinely going, like, this weird little disc contains more music than this cassette tape, and it sounds like, I don't know, like 100 times better. I'm making that up. I don't know actual figures, but it's like crystal clear sound. And yeah, it was crazy, like, that these CDs existed. And I've seen Laserdiscs. We had a Laserdisc player at school where the discs were like, I think there's something like 10 inches across or 12 inches across. And my teacher was saying, "Oh, you can get films on these." I was like, "What?" And I'd never heard of Laserdiscs. I never heard of Laserdiscs either. Never heard of Laserdiscs, and I don't know how popular it was in the UK, to be honest. I think it was something that, it was quite expensive technology. A bit like CDs were when they first came out. But this technology wasn't accessible to every person like it is today. I mean, like, say I'm doing this podcast now. I mean, you could set up a podcast now. I'm going to do a little vlog about it, I think, as well, the equipment I've got. But you could set up a podcast now, a basic podcast with a basic smartphone, and that's it, really. Actually, I was going to list some more stuff, but literally, you can get a basic smartphone, and you can record audio into it, and you could upload that audio into a podcasting host, and put it onto the internet. Or put it onto YouTube. You could video yourself on your phone. Pretty much what I'm doing now. That's all I'm doing now. I have a phone set up in front of me, and I have another phone, my old phone, set to the side of me. So I've got two angles, and that's all I'm doing. It's two cameras that are in phones. And that technology is so easily accessible now that we kind of take it for granted. Whereas even probably 15 years ago, if you'd wanted to set up like a video system and recording system and to upload it and stuff, you'd have needed at least a computer and probably a microphone. You probably wouldn't have been able to do it through your phone at the time. You might have been able to record the audio, but you'd have had to transfer it through. And yeah, it would have been a bit more of a process. And this professional equipment and general technology and like Timo, I was mentioning Timo on the previous podcast, like the things you can get through these sites now is so cheap. You could probably set a whole studio up for less than £1,000. Like, genuinely. I mean, I was looking at some cameras and stuff myself, like, and the camera that I would like, a couple of cameras I would like, that are like £1,000 each, and that's not feasible. That's not feasible unless someone's willing to donate something to me. I'm open to donations. I'm not proud, but yeah, the whole technology advancements that I've seen since coming. I've come from analog, like from being a child all the way through to where we are now. And I think when I look back, it is quite incredible. It kind of really shocks me how far we've come in like 30, 40 years. But yeah, it's there, isn't it? It's there. And I think that the advantage, I do actually wonder where we're going to be in another 30 years. Everyone's going to be a zombie on the phones or just have them implanted into the faces, which some people, I think, kind of would enjoy. Yeah, it's a scary thing, and I think that Xennials are probably the last generation that will kind of understand how the world worked previous to analog. And in 20 years' time, when our parents have probably passed away, we will be telling these stories of pre-digital days, and that's weird to me. I might tell people at work now, like, because I was talking to someone about college, actually. I was talking about college, and that YouTube didn't exist when I was at college. So I used to go on a site called, oh god, what was it called now? I used to go on freearcade.com, which I think is actually still there, and I used to go on a site that had like old flash animations on like Weeble and Bob and Salad Fingers, and I used to go on Foamy the Squirrel, which again still exists. Google that. Foamy's hilarious. Don't if you're offended easily. You're listening to me, so you're probably not. But yeah, when I told him that, like, during my downtime, I used to play games and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, did you not like scroll on your phone and watch YouTube?" I was like, "No, I was at college in the year 2000," and he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Smartphones weren't invented until like a few years later, and that the iPhone didn't come out until 2007, was it?" And he was blown away. He was like, "So what did you do to watch videos online?" I was like, "You just didn't really. That wasn't really a thing. Like, there was a couple of like online platforms, but it wasn't really a thing that you did." And he was a bit like, kind of like, what? And I think he was also looking at me as if to say, how old are you? Which was pleasant. But yeah, I think we're gonna leave it there. I've rambled a little bit about being a Xennial. Let me know what you think. Which kind of camp do you fall into? Are you Gen X? Are you Gen Z? Are you a millennial? Do you think you're a Xennial? Do you agree with that term? And yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. It's really interesting because I think that term, because as I say, when I was first kind of like branded, let's say, as a millennial, I was kind of a little bit offended, as like the kind of like viewpoint that people have of millennials is like, oh, millennials, is to quote them. So when this Xennial thing came out, I was thinking, no, that for me is more an accurate statement on what I am in relation to generational changes. So yeah, I'm more at ease with that. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up. I hope you enjoyed the podcast today. Again, a little bit more rambly than usual. Not a lot of structure. Let me know if you like this format of kind of like carrying on from a previous episode, or let me know if you want me to speak about something in particular, let me know if you've got a subject in mind, and I will prattle about anything. Believe me, I don't like to be too political, but I might venture into that. It might be interesting. I'm not very savvy when it comes to that. That's why I don't really want to talk about it. Politics doesn't really interest me a great deal. But anyway, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching if you have been watching. If you can hit that like button, that would be amazing. If you'd like to subscribe, then please do. And just remember, look after yourselves, and I will speak to you on the next episode. And remember, keep prattling.
Thanks for listening to Infinite Prattle with your host, Stephen. Follow me on social networks at Infinite Prattle, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much.